Well, there has been a lot of talk over the last 2 days about a pro-ISIS group or even ISIS themselves hacking into Centcom's Twitter or YouTube page. Now, let's be clear. Anybody can hack a YouTube or Twitter page. It's not difficult. And just because Centcom has a Twitter page doesn't make it any more secure than any other Twitter page. Well, on the heels of that story, President Obama has now come out with suggestions for cybersecurity legislation.
We're going to keep on at this as a government, but we're also going to be working with the private sector to detect, prevent, defend, deter against attacks, and to recover quickly from any disruptions or damage.
So what does the president specifically want to see? A bill that would give law enforcement more authority, he says, to criminalize the sale of stolen financial information like credit cards and bank account numbers. Create a federal law that standardizes the requirement that companies notify their customers of security breaches within a specific time frame. And the big one, enabling cybersecurity information sharing between the public and private sectors. Now, all of this is happening as Maryland Congressman Dutch Ruppersberger has said that he will reintroduce the controversial bill CISPA, now called CISA, or the Cyber Intelligence Sharing Act, to Congress. By the way, the only difference between the new CISA and the old CISPA, the word protection dropped from the title. The text of the bill exactly the same. Ruppersberger says that in light of the Sony hack, he believes that now more than ever we need these cybersecurity bills, saying in a statement, quote, "More recently, Sony was hit by a severe cyber attack by North Korea, the first destructive attack that we've seen yet, and it cost the company millions of dollars. We must stop dealing with cyber attacks after the fact," end quote. Now, I spoke earlier with cybersecurity expert Eric Delisle, who was also CEO of ICLOAK, and asked him if anything inside CISPA or the new CISA would have actually prevented the Sony hack.
Oh, no. I mean, these things are always looking into the past, and they're not dealing with things proactively. They're just ways of trying to discover what happened, frankly.
And especially when it comes to issues like CISA and these cybersecurity sharing bills, it really has nothing to do really with security. It has to do with reporting and allowing backdoors for the government, does it not?
That, and quite frankly, it's cover for the corporations so that they don't get sued. You know, they're, from my understanding of the bill, they're indemnified when they do cooperate in these issues, and they're having to deal with a lot of touchy subjects right now, especially if you look at other areas of the law where privacy protections have been put in place. For example, HIPAA, which everyone is usually familiar with in healthcare. There are a lot of penalties for companies that are not complying with the law to protect consumers' privacy. Well, that's good. We want that to be the case. If we strip away any of those reasons for companies because they now have there's no recourse in law, then why should they care or put forward the extra money, time, and effort that sometimes it takes to protect that information?
Now, I apologize for my ignorance on this subject, but it occurs to me, and you correct me if I'm wrong, it occurs to me that by the feds saying that they're going to mandate certain backdoors all throughout the internet and into a lot of these companies, that they're also creating doors that can be accessed by actual hackers. And so aren't they actually creating part of the problem that they're hoping to solve here, if they're actually trying to solve issues like what Sony went through?
Yeah, and this is one of the big challenges that we see in the entire, information security, cybersecurity space is that, one of the complaints that came out after all of the NSA disclosures was that, we learned that the NSA knew about certain exploits that could be accessed by the bad guys. And they were not letting people know that these were dangers that were out there. So how could the security companies, the good guys, protect themselves if these holes exist? If they start putting holes in place, it just provides even more attack vectors for the bad guys to exploit. And a lot of times it's just counterproductive.
Let's talk about the simplicity here of the Centcom hacks on Twitter and YouTube. And as we pointed out over and over to people, this is not Centcom having their servers hacked. This is Twitter, this is YouTube, and it doesn't matter whether it's a Centcom account. They don't have greater security on the Centcom Twitter page as you would on any other Twitter page, correct?
That's right. Quite frankly, it's the same thing as if someone hacked my Twitter account or your Twitter account. There's no difference among the Twitter accounts. And these are, you're correct, these are, this is data that exists on Twitter's and Facebook and any other service providers servers, not the government servers. And, you know, the government policies, of course, they deal with their own secure documents, and hopefully our federal employees that are working with sensitive documents aren't splattering them around on Facebook and Twitter. If they were, you know, they would be susceptible to be gotten that way. But this is another case of where the media is really missing both the context and the threat as it really exists. This is a case of where someone has stolen a key to someone's home, and they're just a thief. That's all they are. They use that key to unlock their door and go inside and do whatever they're going to do. It's not the same as advanced hackers or you know, cat burglars who can use these lock-picking tools to get through the lock, regardless of how strong or how well you secure your keys. So in the case of what's happened with Centcom, somebody gave up their username and password, and someone was able to access it. Now, could that happen through other means that are nefarious, like phishing attacks, where the bad guy will send off an email to a government employee that maybe controls that account and says, hey, you need to reset your password, please enter it here, and they surreptitiously gain that username and password by faking out the employee. But this is not them hacking into government systems themselves.
Eric, before we go, we're very short on time, but let me ask you quickly, anything in CISPA or CISA that would prevent someone from being able to hack a Twitter account?
Absolutely not. No, these again, these are things that are looking at the problem after it's happened, and they want the tools to be able to collect all the data possible to basically possibly prevent things in the future, but frankly, it usually doesn't work that way.
Well, and unfortunately, it feels like we're being sold a bill of goods here that was turned down not too long ago, and it's answers to a problem that aren't actually answers to a problem. Eric Delisle, CEO of ICLOAK, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, Ben.